You are listening to the Giversize Shorts podcast, bringing you the best inspirational fitness, health, and lifestyle short stories told from the hearts of extraordinary people with life-changing stories.
Welcome to episode 1 of Giversize Shorts, the Christian inspirational fitness, health, and lifestyle storytelling podcast. I am your host, Ashley Ward. If you haven't already, then please subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. For more information on this episode and to view show notes, visit us at www.giversizeshorts.com. Our inspirational verse of the day is from Proverbs 16 and 24 of the King James Bible Version. Pleasant words are as an honeycomb, sweet to the soul and health to the bones. Now it's story time. In this episode, our storyteller is Karen Newman. Karen Newman is an inspirational speaker, world record-breaking triathlete, author, and survivor of 2 life-threatening diseases. Her real-life stories have been giving people hope, helping free them from the bondage of shame, secrets, and addictions, inspiring them to be authentic, to dream big, and risk living the life they were meant to live. Karen has been featured in numerous publications and shows, including the NBC Today Show, and has lectured all over the country. She has also received many awards, such as the Connecticut Sportswriters Association's Courage Award and American Cancer Society's Determination Champion for her tireless charitable efforts. Karen is the author of a book entitled Just 3 Words, a gripping story about the challenging experiences that brought her to her knees and then to her life's purpose, and the miracles that kept her alive and winning athletic events around the world. Her book is available to pre-order now and will be out in hardcover in January 2016. Karen is an 8-time All-American triathlete and was the 2012 silver medalist and top American finisher at the Age Group Triathlon World Championships in Auckland, New Zealand. This despite enduring over 4 years of cancer treatments throughout her training. She followed in 2013 as a gold medalist for the United States in both triathlon and the 5K road race at the National Senior Games in Cleveland, Ohio, and then repeated with golds in both events at the Huntsman World Senior Games while breaking the world record in the women's triathlon there. As a triathlon coach and registered dietitian with a master's degree in clinical nutrition, Karen has had a long career educating and encouraging people in health and nutrition, as well as on the track. A University of Vermont alumni, she married her college sweetheart, Peter, and together they have 3 amazing boys, Stetson, Chase, and Trent, who inspired her to survive and thrive. Let's listen to Karen Newman.
My name is Karen Newman, and this is my story entitled The Lion's Den. I wasn't prepared. Who would be? It was Tuesday, March 18, 2008, 21 days after the worst day of my life. The precise time, 4:53 p.m., is emblazoned in my mind because time seemed to stand still. Everything came into sharp focus. The lily about to bloom in its pot on the counter, the picture slightly off kilter on the wall, the dust on the black table. It was like a slow-motion movie when I heard just 3 words that penetrated my world and changed my life forever. Karen, it's cancer. My hand began to shake uncontrollably. I kept staring, looking at my fingers wrapped around the receiver as if they were attached to someone else. Survival instincts kicked in as I calmly asked, "Are you sure?" The reply, "All 5 samples have cancer." I managed to replace the receiver, not sure how to proceed into the next minute, let alone with my life. I had no choice but to come fully present again. 2 sets of eyes were staring intently at me. I gazed down at the faces of our 2 youngest boys. Trent was 9, and his sparkling pixie eyes and impish grin were now lost, his brows scrunched with concern. 13-year-old Chase was usually my daredevil, but now I saw real fear in his eyes, already pooling with the tears he was trying to hold back. The loaded silence was too much for him, and a tension-filled wail escaped his mouth. "Mommy!" What did they say? He already knew. Instinct is a powerful thing. As I told our boys something one never dreams of telling a child, Chase burst into tears and ran to his room, burying his face in the pillow. There was no time to think of myself. Trent clung to my leg as I made my way into Chase's room. A gut-wrenching sob shook his body. The sound was foreign to my ears. The pain cut me like a knife. That warrior mommy jumped into action. Nothing can come between a mother and her child. It's primal, part of our DNA. My whole focus was to fix this, fight this, annihilate this, and give our children hope. I just didn't know how hard this was going to be, and how drastically it would change my life. With Trent sitting wide-eyed on my lap, I stroked Chase's back, trying to instill into both of them the calm knowing that I was beginning to feel. I can do this. I will be fine. God is with me. My children will not be left without a mother. The story of Daniel in the lion's den came to mind. Daniel was saved from the harm of the lion because of his great faith. I felt God was telling me that this was my story too. If I walked in faith, I would be saved from this new lion that was staring me in the face. I then made a promise to the boys that I would fight and I would keep my slot on Team USA and compete just 3 months from now in the Triathlon Age Group World Championships in Vancouver, British Columbia. This was a promise I fully intended to keep, regardless of the monster that had just entered our world. I had no choice but to tell my husband, Peter, over the phone. Love and fear hung in the space between us as we said goodbye. I would tell our oldest son, Stetson, later, when I was due to pick him up at the high school. I needed space to think, time to talk to God, but he'd have to wait. I had to go about my business, get the boys to tennis, and make them proceed with life, forcing the 3 of us for the time being out of our shop. I dropped them off, waving and smiling as if we didn't have a care in the world. I had many years of practice pretending one thing while feeling entirely different on the inside. The words "Karen, it's cancer" bounced off the walls of my skull, making an eerie echo. I simply had to go for a bike ride and talk to God. I mounted my bike on the run. I began pedaling, and my first cohesive words were, "Thank you, God, for allowing me to go through this journey of cancer. And I hope it's bad, because I really need you to change my life." Perhaps unbelievable and absurd, but true. The slithering darkness of my secret addiction was much more terrifying to me than cancer. 3 weeks earlier, I had hit rock bottom and found myself on my knees begging God to take me home. My eating disorder had reached epic proportions. It had stolen everything and left me crushed by shame. The diagnosis of advanced aggressive cancer ignited within me a desire to live. I felt like God was allowing me to go through this journey of cancer because he could see the other side. He could see how it was the lifeline that would bring me out of the darkness and into his glorious light. I also knew that if I kept bulimia as my best friend, that I would surely die. So I stopped. It wasn't easy. An ugly battle of words erupted in the unruly garden of self-loathing that had flourished in my head. But daily God poured out his grace, and I began to let his loving words back in. And slowly the demon that had possessed me for more than 30 years lost his grip. The chemotherapy was taking its toll, and the medical professionals advised me against racing at the World Championships. But the warrior inside me just couldn't be contained, and despite all the odds against it and the coursing chemo, Peter and I flew to Vancouver, and I made it to the start line. As I stood on the shoreline, shaking uncontrollably from the cold, I silently prayed that I would not throw up and that I would finish like I promised. When the horn blew, I dove in. Within seconds, my arms could barely move, but somehow I forced my frozen shoulders around and around. It was sheer will and determination that kept me moving to the shoreline. As I stumbled on frozen toes towards my bike, I attempted to unzip my wetsuit, but my fingers would not cooperate. Transition was a disaster. I thought the water was cold, but it was nothing compared to the deadly cold I felt on the bike. My body shook uncontrollably, and I began to cry. For the first time, I thought I was not going to make it. All my dreams, all the promises, all the determination and sacrifice to get here. And now my body was simply breaking down. I'd never quit anything in my life, but hypothermia had set in. I knew I couldn't continue. Something had to change. At last I said a desperate prayer. I lifted my hands for a brief second and asked Jesus to please take control of my bike and help me finish. Miraculously, that is exactly what happened. I instantly felt a new steadiness and warmth engulfed me. My shaking subsided enough so that I could move forward without rocking out of control. My mind was immediately injected with a shot of hope and determination, and I began to pedal faster. Every inch of the way, Jesus helped me. It was the hardest ride of my life, and also wonderfully mind-blowing because of the answered prayer. When I pulled into transition, I nearly fell to the ground with exhaustion, but somehow managed to get my helmet off and my sneakers on. As I exited transition, I knew without a doubt that I would finish because Jesus was running and holding my hand. To this day, despite standing on multiple podiums, even breaking a world record, that 2008 World Triathlon Championship race remains one of my greatest athletic achievements, not because of the overwhelming challenge, but because of Jesus' loving hand in it. I am living proof of the Bible verse, for nothing is impossible with God. Luke 1:37. I am now cancer-free, and I continue to remain in awe of God. My prayer is that this story ignites your faith and help you realize that often the greatest trials in our lives are in fact our greatest opportunities to grow and be transformed. And as you stand victorious, may you find your God-given gifts, your purpose here on earth, and share love and your experiences with the world. I pray that you will visit my website, www.karennewman.com. There you will find additional inspiring stories, media clips, information about my upcoming book, Just 3 Words, and other tips and tools to help you live a victorious, loved, and free life.
Let's thank our wonderful storyteller, Karen Newman. If you enjoyed this episode and are interested in sharing your story on this podcast, then please visit us at www.giversizeshorts.com. You have the option of submitting your story to us by using the SpeakPipe voice recorder we have embedded directly on our website. It's fast, easy, and convenient. Now that's just one of many options. Visit our website for more details on how to submit your audio story to us today. That's GIVERCISE shorts.com. I also like to thank RadioGuestList.com for helping us secure amazing storytellers and other guests for this podcast. RadioGuestList.com was absolutely free to us. Until next time, inspire.
Thanks for tuning in to the Giversize Shorts podcast, your source for the best inspirational fitness, health, and lifestyle short stories. Please join us again next time for a story-filled experience.